Good afternoon to all. Welcome to this 33rd lecture of the course Heat Transfer. Today we will be further continuing our discussion on fundamentals of radiation heat transfer. Okay, so in terms of radiation heat transfer, there comes a very important concept of black body. So black body is nothing but a idealized surface which is having some specific characteristics, and it is used as a basis of comparison for radiation heat transfer from the real surfaces. Okay, so there are three ideal attributes of the black body. The first characteristic of the black body is that it absorbs completely all the irradiations which are or all the radiations which are incident on this surface. So it means it's a perfect absorber. So that is its first characteristic. Second characteristic is that if we are having a black body, the radiations emitted by a black body at a given temperature will be highest or maximum relative to a real surface at a same temperature. Okay, so it means any surface having temperature equivalent to that of a black body cannot have more amount of radiations emission in comparison to a black body. So it means it is having the maximum emission at given T. Okay, so this is second characteristics of black body. And third characteristic of black body is that yesterday we have studied that radiations varies in a spectral and directional manner. And if we consider that radiations emitted by a surface are independent of the direction, then we call that surface as nothing but diffuse emitter. So our black body is nothing but a diffuse emitter. So the meaning of diffuse emitter is radiations emitted by a black body have uniform intensity in all the directions. Okay, so radiations emitted from a black body will not depend or will not having variable intensity in different directions. Okay, so now obtaining such a behavior from a surface is actually impossible. So say if I have a flat surface, and from this flat surface if I want to have these three characteristics, the very first one is very important, perfect absorber. So that type of situation will be impossible, because when we will be incidenting some ray on this surface, there will be part of this ray which will be reflected, some part will be transmitted by the surface, and some part will be only partial fraction will be absorbed. Okay, so in a situation if we have to like construct a black body, what we can do, we can have one isothermal cavity. So for example, this surface over here we are having, and we are considering that this is a hollow cavity, and the entire periphery of this cavity is maintained at a fixed temperature. So it means we are having isothermal temperature. It means the different surfaces of this cavity are having same temperature. Okay, and we have provided a very small aperture at this cavity. So if we are having a small aperture, under that scenario, if we are incidenting a ray having wavelength lambda on this cavity, so what will be happening? It will enter within the surface of the cavity, and part of this will be absorbed and part of this will be actually reflected. Once it is reflected, because we are having a closed enclosure, so it will once again strike at some another portion of this cavity surface. Once again we will be having multiple reflections, and in each reflection there will be some energy loss, because part of the energy will be absorbed by the surface. So finally we will be finding, after number of reflections, entire intensity or entire energy associated with this incident ray will be actually our completely absorbed. Okay, so that's why the concept of black body comes. So black body is nothing but a substance, or we are having a surface which is so arranged in such a fashion that any ray which is incident on this surface is actually completely absorbed. So what we have done, we have provided a very small aperture so that after reflections, rays should not go out, and due to the number of reflections, entire intensity of this ray will be absorbed by the surface. Okay, so our first condition is satisfied. Then another condition is whatever emissions will be happening from this surface, so these emissions will be having actually uniform intensity in all the directions. So I can say that because we are having diffused emissions, so black body emissions are only function of the wavelength. So we don't have any dependence of theta and phi in this direction. Okay. And another important characteristic of black body is also there, that say if we are having this cavity, and inside this cavity if I place any surface, okay, so obviously from this black body there will be some emissions of the radiations, and these emissions will be acting as, say, irradiation for this surface. So irrespective of the orientation of this surface within the cavity, irradiation from black body in all the directions will be actually having uniform intensity. Okay, so these are the idealized surfaces which have perfect absorption towards the incident radiations, and this is having maximum emission at a given temperature. So why black body is having maximum emission, the proof of this we will see later in this lecture while discussing about the Kirchhoff's law. And another important characteristic of the black body which we consider is that any radiations which will be emitted from this black body, these will be actually independent of the direction. So that's why we can consider this to be a diffuse emitter. So we have constructed a special shape of the cavity which shows these characteristics. However, if we consider a flat surface, it is very, very difficult for a flat surface to difficult for a flat surface to exhibit such characteristics. Okay, now because we are interested in, we have seen in the previous lecture that if we have to determine the radiative total radiative emissive power, we have related it with the intensity of these radiations, I, lambda, theta, and phi. And here in this idealized assumption, we have considered that for black body, we will be having only variation, spectral variation, and directional dependence will not be there. So now what we have to do, if we have to quantify this amount of heat transfer, we have to determine the value of this I lambda for our idealized black body. Okay, so for that, Planck has proposed a distribution of intensity which is specifically applicable only for a black body. So that's why we have written over here I lambda V, and this is function of lambda, only spectral variation, because for a black body it's a diffuse emitter and we don't have directional dependence, and it's a function of also the surface temperature. Okay, so this Planck distribution says that I lambda V will be equal to 2hc naught square divided by lambda 5 exponential of hc naught by lambda kt minus 1, where h is nothing but our Planck's constant. Okay, so h is called as Planck's constant. Can you tell me what will be its value? What is the value of Planck's constant? K over here is Boltzmann constant. Okay, and C naught is equal to speed of light in vacuum. Please tell me the value of Planck's constant. Any one of you? So value of Planck's constant will be
6.626 into 10 raised to power minus 34.
What will be unit?
Joules per hertz.
Okay, or I can say simply joule second. Okay, and for Boltzmann constant, okay, and speed of light in vacuum, we already know 3 into 10 to power 8 meters per second. Okay, now we have seen yesterday that if we are not having any directional dependence, then spectral emissive power E lambda I can write as nothing but equal to pi times of I lambda. Okay, so over here we will be having T also as function because it also depends upon the surface temperature. Okay, so now I can simply write that spectral emissive power of a black body will be nothing but equal to 2 pi h c naught square divided by lambda 5 into exponential of hc naught by lambda kt minus 1. Okay, so over here this 2 pi h c naught square is many times called as constant c1, and it is also known as first constant of radiation. Okay, so this is also known as first constant of radiation. Similarly, in the denominator we can write this hc naught by k as another constant c2, which is called as second constant of radiation. Okay, now if we plot this spectrum, so this is my spectral emissive power. If I plot this spectral emissive power as function of wavelength for different values of t, my distribution will look something like this. So along ordinate I have spectral emissive power in having units watt per meter square micrometer. Watt per meter square because it's a flux, and per micrometer because we are finding it corresponding to a particular wavelength. Okay, and here we have different values of temperature. So along the abscissa we have wavelength, and on this we have actually plotted the different constant temperature lines. For example, this first line is corresponding to 50 Kelvin, then 100 Kelvin, and we have actually keep on increasing the temperature till the highest temperature we have marked over here is 5800 Kelvin, which is nothing but the temperature of the sun's surface, and corresponding to that whatever line we are having, we are marking that line to be as nothing our solar radiation. Okay, now if we see, there are some important characteristics of the spectrum. For example, you can see that we are having peak value at some wavelength, and on either sides of this wavelength actually the value of spectral emissive power is actually decreasing. Okay, another important thing we can see that corresponding to low temperatures our spectrum of wavelength is in the high wavelength region, and when our temperature is increasing we are moving towards the low wavelength spectrum. Okay, third important point we can see over here is that our peak point which is having the highest value of spectral emissive power at a given temperature, upon increase of temperature this peak point is actually shifting towards the left. Okay, and one important thing we can see over here that corresponding to temperature of 5800 Kelvin, which is actually representative of the solar radiations, we can see that peak point is actually lying exactly in our visible region corresponding to wavelength of 0.5 micrometers. So that's why we can see we can say that from sun whatever the solar radiation we receive, their majority of their fraction is nothing but in the visible spectral region. Okay, so because of that due to the sun we see actually light, because of the solar radiations we see light. Okay, now another important thing we can see over here, whatever this peak point we are having, this peak point shows actually a special characteristic which is explained with the help of Wien's displacement law. Okay, so we call one law as nothing but our Wien's displacement law, and this can be very easily proved with the help of simple mathematics. So you can see over here at a given temperature we are getting this maxima. So if I have to determine that this maxima is corresponding to what value of the wavelength, so what we can do, this is our formulation of the spectral emissive power. So if I differentiate this spectral emissive power dE lambda V with d lambda at a given temperature, and if I substitute equal to 0, so this will give me nothing but some specific value of lambda corresponding to which we are getting the highest value of spectral emissive power. Okay, so if you do this differentiation, you will be finding that lambda corresponding to maximum emissive power, so let me write it as lambda max multiplied by T will be equal to some constant C3, which is called as third coefficient of radiation, and value of this third coefficient of radiation, if you calculate with the help of this HC0K, you will be finding it equal to 2898 micrometer Kelvin. Okay, so this particular relation which says that when we will be increasing the temperature of the surface, our lambda max corresponding to which maximum emissive power will occur, this will shift towards the left, and this dashed line over here shows nothing but this particular behavior, and this particular behavior is actually called as nothing but Wien's displacement law of radiation. Okay, so is there any question till this point? Shall I move further, or is there any question?
No questions.
Okay. Okay, now comes a very, very important law, which is called as Stefan-Boltzmann law. Okay, so now the idea of the Stefan-Boltzmann law is to estimate the total emissive power. Okay, so till now, what we have done, till now, we have estimated the spectral emissive power, which is given as E lambda. Okay, now we have to estimate the total emissive power. Say, let me call it as, for a black body, say EB and T. So at a given temperature, there will be some value of the total emissive power. So Stefan was the scientist who, for the first time, proposed experimentally the relationship in between total emissive power and the temperature of the surface, and Boltzmann have actually developed the theoretical basis or thermodynamic basis for this relationship in between EB and T. So that's why this law altogether is called as nothing but Stefan-Boltzmann law. So now can you tell me, if I know the spectral power, and for this if I have to determine the total emissive power of a black body, how can I determine? Can you tell me? I have already dealt this thing in our previous lecture.
Integrate for lambda.
Yes,
0 to infinity.
We have to integrate for the entire spectrum of the wavelength, and I have to integrate this EV lambda over d lambda. Okay, so if I do this integration, finally I will be finding that this is nothing but equal to sigma into T to power 4, and this sigma will once again the combination of coefficients h, c0 and k, and if we substitute all these values, we will be finding it to be 5.67 into 10 to power minus 8 watt per meter square, because we are calculating this total emissive power in the form of flux only, watt per meter square, and we have T to power 4, so this is a coefficient, so it will be having value as nothing but Kelvin power 4. Okay, now this particular coefficient is something which is called as Stefan-Boltzmann constant. Okay, so this is one important law of radiation which says that if we have to determine the total emissive power from a black body having temperature T, it will be equal to nothing but sigma into T to power 4. Now this relationship, relationship will be very, very useful while we will be determining the emission of radiations from the real surface, because determining the intensity spectrum for these real surfaces is very, very challenging, and complex. So what we do, we take the advantage of black body spectrum in order to determine the radiative heat transfer from the real surfaces. Okay. Now let me talk about a very brief topic, which is called as band emission. So band emission is nothing but it represents that if in a specific range of wavelength we want to determine that how much total emissive power we have, that is actually called as band emission. For example, this is our entire EV lambda spectrum. If only up to this lambda I want to determine that how much radiations I have or how much is the fraction of the radiation, so that I can call as band emission. So let me say that, say if this is 0, so f from 0 to lambda will be nothing but integration of E lambda V from 0 to lambda d lambda divided by E for entire surface. Okay, so entire surface I can simply write EB and black body total emissive power. Now total emissive power of the black body will be equal to nothing but sigma into T to power 4. Now we know that this E lambda V is something which is nothing but a function of the temperature. So if I have to include the functional relationship of temperature over here, let me divide and multiply by T. So under that condition, I can write that E lambda B, and whenever I have multiplied with T, that I have included over here within the differential d lambda T, and in the denominator I can write sigma into T to power 5, because this spectral distribution is a joint function of lambda and T. So that's why I can say this entire integral will be my sum function of lambda and T. So if we see, we are having some charts and table available. So you can see one of the chart over here which shows lambda T into 10 to power minus 3 micrometer Kelvin along abscissa, and this fraction from 0 to lambda along ordinate. So you can see that if I have to calculate this fraction corresponding to any value of wavelength, I can substitute, determine this value for the given surface temperature, and corresponding to that I can find out value of F. And if I multiply this F with sigma T power 4, I will be finding how much is my band emission in a particular range of wavelength. So this is not very fundamental topic, but this is just a small mathematical manipulation in order to determine the fraction of radiations within some particular spectrum. Now there can be some question that you have to determine say band emission within the range of wavelength, say lambda 1 to lambda 2. So for that, estimation is very simple. First calculate from 0 to lambda 1, then 0 to lambda 2, and then take the difference of these two. Okay. Okay, now we have a very important topic which represents nothing but emission from the real surfaces. Okay, so emission from the real surfaces is actually very quite challenging in comparison to the emissions from the idealized surfaces. For example, you can see on the left hand side we have spectral distribution of the power. So you can see spectral distribution for a black body is a very smooth line. However, and this is something which is actually given by Planck's distribution. Okay. However, for a real surface, we have distribution that varies significantly from the Planck's distribution. So this is the distribution for a real surface, and you can see our Planck distribution and this real surface is having significant difference between the two. In the similar way, you can see we have shown some directional dependence also on this second figure. So you can see the left portion of this second figure represents the emission from a black body, where we have uniform intensity of radiations in all the directions. However, when we are considering a real surface, the intensity of the radiations, first thing is that intensity is less in comparison to a black body. And second thing is that intensity of radiation is not actually uniform in all the directions. Rather, we have some directional dependence. Okay, so it means real surfaces or the analysis of real surfaces is quite challenging in comparison to the idealized surfaces. Okay, so what we do while we study the emissions from the real surfaces, we try to relate these emissions with the idealized surfaces with the help of some additional property which is called as nothing but emissivity of the surface. So emissivity is a property which represents the relation of intensities or radiative heat transfer fluxes in between the real and the idealized surfaces. Okay, and it is given by a symbol epsilon. So as I told you that we will be having both spectral and directional dependence in case of the real surfaces. So we define the generalized form of emissivity as spectral directional emissivity. Okay, spectral directional emissivity. So the meaning of spectral directional emissivity is that it is a function of wavelength also, and it is a function of direction theta also. Okay, so this is something which is a function of lambda, theta, phi, and moreover, as we are saying that the radiations emitted for a surface are function of nothing but temperature. So we have to consider over here this temperature also. Okay, so this is a very fundamental quantity, emissivity, which is spectral directional emissivity, which is a function of both wavelength and the direction. And because radiations, whether it's a black body or a real surface, is a function of surface temperature, so that's why we are including the functional dependence of temperature also over here. Okay, now this emissivity is defined as nothing but intensity of the emitted radiations from a real surface, which will be function of lambda, theta, phi, and t divided by intensity of spectral intensity of a black body, which will be only the function of lambda and t. So now, because we know the value of this spectral intensity of a black body, if we know the value of the spectral directional emissivity, we can determine the intensity of radiation intensity of a real surface, which will be the function of wavelength, direction, as well as the temperature. So till this point, is it clear how I have defined this emissivity?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let me define another property which is called as directional emissivity, or I can call it as, say, total directional emissivity. So total directional emissivity is another parameter which represents the only function of theta, and this total directional emissivity considers that whatever the intensities we are considering, these intensities are nothing but combined effect for all the wavelengths. So if I do so, I can write intensity of emitted radiation as function of because it's sum of all the wavelengths, so it will be function of only theta, phi, and t. And similarly, in the denominator, I will be having only intensity of the total intensity of the black body radiations, which will be sole function of temperature. Okay, so this is another important parameter. So basically, when we are talking about epsilon theta, we are considering that all spectral values are averaged, and we are only having variation along the theta direction. Okay, so that is something which is accounted in this total directional emissivity. Okay, then comes total hemispherical spectral intensity. Sorry, spectral emissivity. So now what we are doing, we are saying that over the entire hemisphere, we have done integration and we are only considering the value of spectral emissivity epsilon lambda. So if we define epsilon lambda, it will be only function of lambda and t, because over the entire direction we have done integration. So for this purpose, we will be having over here integration 0 to infinity e lambda, which will be function of lambda theta phi comma t divided by e 0 to infinity e lambda corresponding to black body, which will be only function of lambda comma t d lambda. Okay, this point is clear. So what we are considering over here, we are saying that over the entire hemisphere, actually, we have done the average over the direction, and only we are considering the effect of wavelength over here to determine the total hemispherical spectral emissivity. Okay. So now, when we will be determining this, sorry, I have made one mistake. Because I am considering over the hemispherical and I am considering it as a function of wavelength. So that's why I cannot integrate it over the wavelength. Rather, I have to include the total over theta. Okay. So total over theta will be considering e lambda as function of lambda and t. And this e lambda theta phi t, I can write as nothing but 0 to 2 pi from our previous lecture, 0 to pi by 2 I lambda e as function of lambda theta phi t into cos theta, sin theta, d theta and d phi. And here we will be having divided by integration from 0 to 2 pi, integration from 0 to pi by 2 I lambda of black body, which will be function of lambda comma t into cos theta, sin theta, d theta and d phi. Is this point clear? How I have defined this hemispherical spectral emissivity?
Yes, you integrate
any
it over theta and phi, right?
Sorry, can you say again?
So you integrated it over theta and phi.
Yes, I have integrated it over theta and phi. Okay, because over the entire hemisphere, I want to define a single value of the spectral emissivity. Fine.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now, because this I lambda b, whatever I have written in the denominator, it is only a function of wavelength and temperature, and we are doing integration over theta and phi. So I can take it out of the integration and I can bring it to the numerator. So if I bring it to numerator, I'll be finding I lambda e divided by I lambda b. So I lambda e and I lambda b ratio is nothing but our spectral directional emissivity. So if I do this substitution, I will be finding that epsilon lambda as function of lambda comma t will be equal to integral 0 to 2 pi 0 to pi by 2 epsilon lambda, which is function of lambda theta phi t into cos theta sin theta d theta. Okay, divided by integral 0 to 2 pi 0 to pi by 2 cos theta sin theta d theta and d phi. Okay, so is this point clear? What I have done, this term I have taken to numerator, and this fundamental definition of spectral directional emissivity I have used, which is the ratio of I lambda comma e divided by I lambda comma b. Is this point clear? How I have written this step? Please tell me if you are having any confusion.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if I do integration of this one, can you tell me what I'll be getting? So let me consider now that one assumption now I will take. I will consider that whatever this epsilon I have, lambda, theta, phi, and t, I will consider that it is not a function of phi. So what I am trying to say over here, that if this is my surface, so this is my theta. So it is varying over theta. However, this, if I rotate in circumferential direction, my emissivity epsilon is actually independent of the phi direction. Okay, so this assumption we are considering over here, this is something which is not any characteristic of the system, but this is some sort of assumption, and this assumption holds good for majority of surfaces. Okay, for majority of surfaces, this assumption holds good. So now I am considering that I can do this integration of phi independently, and denominator I have even theta also. So if I do this integration, here I have d phi also. So if I do this integration, finally I will be finding that E lambda comma t will be nothing but 2 times integration from 0 to pi by 2 epsilon lambda theta and t, because functional dependence of phi I have removed from here, into cos theta sin theta d theta. So if you do this integration in the denominator, here you will get 2 pi by 2, and in the numerator you will get 2 pi if you integrate over 5. So 2 pi will cancel and you will get 2 in the multiplier. So can you do this integration by your own? Fine. Okay. Now this is called as nothing but total, as I have written earlier, total spectral emissivity. Okay, total hemispherical spectral emissivity. Now let me define one term as nothing but total emissivity. So if I have to define total emissivity, that will be nothing but my total radiations from real surface. So real surface, it will be function of lambda, theta, phi, t divided by total emissions from a black body. So EB, which will be sole function of temperature. Okay. So what are the total radiations from a real surface and total radiation from a black body? If we take this ratio, that is called as nothing but our total emissivity, and I can simply define total emissivity as over here I can simply write integration from 0 to infinity and epsilon lambda into E lambda b, because we are considering black body radiation multiplied by epsilon lambda, and that I can integrate over d lambda, and in the denominator I can simply write sigma into d to power 4, because that is the radiations of a black body. So this is how I can define the value of total emissivity. Okay, is this point clear, how I have defined total emissivity?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now it is very, very important to see the variation of emissivity for different surfaces. So one typical representation we have shown over here for epsilon theta. So epsilon theta I have already shown you in the previous slide. So our epsilon theta is nothing but total directional emissivity, which includes the effect of all the wavelengths, but is a function of only the direction. So if we see the variation of epsilon theta for conductors and semiconductors, you can see we are measuring theta from here. So this is corresponding to 0 degree and this is corresponding to 90 degrees. So you can see for conductors, we are having initially up to an angle of about 40 degrees Celsius, some fixed value of the emissivity, epsilon theta, and after that it increases and then it decays almost to 0 corresponding to 90 degrees. Okay, so it means in this direction, which is parallel to the surface, radiations emitted by surface will be almost 0. However, here it will be maximum, and in 90 degree once again, in 0 degree it will be actually slightly decreasing. Okay, then for the case of non-conductors, we find up to angle of about 70 degrees there is a fixed value of epsilon theta, and after that it decreases almost to 0. Okay, now one important point is, if we take the average of this entire plot over this theta variation, okay, and if I call that average as nothing but my epsilon, so I will be finding that the ratio of complete average over this entire theta, epsilon by epsilon, if I divide it by epsilon n, where epsilon n refers to the value of emissivity corresponding to 0 degree angle. So epsilon n is normal to the surface. So normal to the surface we have 0 degree angle. So if I take the ratio of epsilon, this epsilon is nothing but average over theta. Okay, so if I take the variation of this entire curve, average of this entire curve, which will be coming as some single line, and this, if I take epsilon n as the emissivity in normal direction, which is corresponding to 0 angle, we will be finding this variation for almost all the non-conductor devices in the range of 0.95 to 1. And so this is some for non-conductor. And for conductors, if we see this ratio of epsilon by epsilon n will be within the range of 1 to 1.3, and 1 to 1.3, this will be for conductor. Okay, so from here what we want to say that though we have some variation of emissivity in the theta direction, but if we take the average, that average is coming very close to normal. So that's why sometimes we assume emissivity equal to that of the normal emissivity for our engineering calculations, because error in a curve will be less than 10 to 20%. Okay, so it will be in the limits of factor of safety, whatever we consider for our engineering devices. Okay, till this point it is okay, or any confusion?
Okay, sir.
Okay, next I have given the spectral normal emissivity. So it means normal emissivity, I am talking about epsilon n, and I am writing spectral, so it means I am talking about epsilon n lambda. So if I plot epsilon n lambda as function of wavelength for different materials, you will be finding spectrum something like this. So we are not having very definite structure or very definite trend over here, but this for different conductors and non-conductors, actually this behaves in some random fashion. But one important point we are having, like in theta direction, we can avoid this variation of the emissivity, because this gives us a good amount of accuracy for engineering applications if we assume a fixed value, that we cannot do for spectral normal emissivity, because in terms of spectral parameter, variation of emissivity is actually very wide over the small spectrum of wavelength which we are considering for our applications. Okay, then this is another total normal emissivity. So now I am talking about total emissivity in the normal direction. So here also you can see that emissivity is nothing but a strong function of temperature also. So for some of the surfaces it is decreasing with temperature, and for some of the surfaces actually it is increasing with temperature. And even the surface characteristics, whether we are having oxides or polished surfaces, so it means the behavior of the surface characteristic is also an important parameter in governing the value of the emissivity. Okay, These are some magnitude of total normal emissivity for different substances. So you can see this is the zoomed view over here. So for majority of the highly polished metals, we are having emissivity less than 0.2. Okay, so for metals, emissivity value is less than 0.2. Then we can see that if we are having metal oxides, then their emissivity is actually increasing, and when we are moving towards the non-conductors, then emissivity value is actually reaching to very high in the range of 0.8 to 1. Okay, so this is one important conclusion we can make from this figure, that pure metals are having very low emissivity, metal oxides are having slightly higher emissivity in the range of 0.3 to 0.7, and then if we go for non-conductors, they are having actually high value of the emissivity. Okay, now here comes one important phenomenon. Whenever we are having this till this point, whatever we have talked about, that was the radiations leaving from the surface. Now we will be having radiations which are actually incident on the surface and are called as irradiation. So if we talk about irradiation, we will be having three very important phenomenon: absorption, reflection, and transmission. So a schematic depiction is given over here for a semi-transparent medium, where some irradiation of intensity G lambda is actually incident on the surface, and part of this is being reflected, part of this is being absorbed within the medium, and part of this is actually transmitted by this particular surface. So these are the three phenomena which are happening over here, and depending upon these three phenomena, you can see G lambda, which was the total, is now equal to sum of absorption plus reflection plus transmission. Okay, so now absorption and reflection are even two important phenomena which even governs the color which we actually see. For example, whenever sunlight is falling on the trees, majority of the other lights like red, blue are absorbed by chlorophyll present in the tree leaves, and green light is reflected. So that's why we see our color of tree or these leaves as nothing but green. So it means this is having important consideration in whenever visible light is incident on the surfaces in defining the color also. Okay, now this is about the semi-transparent medium, where we will be having some transmission of the light also. But if we talk about the opaque medium, in case of opaque medium, we will be only having absorption. Okay, so we will be having G lambda absorption plus G lambda reflection equal to nothing but our total G lambda. So total irradiation, because here in case of opaque surface, we will not be having any transmission. Now due to this thickness and surface characteristics, as well as the volumetric behavior associated in case of transmission, because in case of transmission the ray has to entirely penetrate through this thickness of the material, the phenomenon of transmission is actually very complex, and it is it's determining its intensity and its value is very challenging. Okay, but for majority of our engineering applications, we operate in the range of opaque material. So that's why majority of the times we will be considering that total irradiation is nothing but sum of absorption plus reflection. Okay, one important point also, let me highlight you over here. It is not always the case that the medium which is acting transparent for one type of radiation, it may behave as non-transparent for other type of radiations. For example, if I talk about snow, in case of snow, there will be complete reflection of visible light. However, if we talk about infrared radiation, so snow is a kind of a good absorber or strong absorber for infrared radiations. Okay, so depending upon the wavelength spectrum also, if a medium is behaving as, say, transparent for one type of radiation, for another type of radiation it may behave as opaque. Okay, so this wavelength spectrum of the irradiation is something which is a strong governing parameter in deciding that which of the phenomenon will be actually dominant. Okay. Now let us define individually the property absorptivity. So here what we have, we define this with symbol alpha. Okay. So alpha is nothing but equal to the amount of irradiation which are absorbed by the medium divided by amount which is actually total amount which is irradiated on the surface. So this is our alpha total. Now this absorbed amount will be equal to nothing but alpha. So I can say that absorbed amount will be nothing but equal to alpha total times Gb. Okay. Now if we have the way we have defined value of emissivity, in a similar fashion we can define actually value of absorptivity also. Okay. For example, if I have to define spectral directional absorptivity, so can you tell me how I can define it? Please tell me if I have to mathematically define this, how I can define alpha, because I have already introduced you to the concept of emissivity. So how can I write it? Alpha
theta
lambda
pi.
Okay.
Yeah, and
This will be equal to intensity of radiations which are incident, okay, having function lambda theta phi divided by intensity of radiations,
black body B.
yes, lambda
B.
bi. Okay, so that will be only a function of lambda. Okay, similarly the way I have defined alpha lambda previously, which was the average over direction. So if I have to define alpha lambda, which is function of lambda, that will be becoming integration 0 to 2 pi integration 0 to pi by 2 I lambda I into lambda theta phi d theta d phi divided by integration 0 to 2 pi integration 0 to pi by 2 into I
Lambda B.
lambda b, which will be function of
Lambda.
only lambda. Sorry, here I did a mistake. I have to also write complete definition of solid angle. Cos theta, sin theta, d theta, and d phi. So what finally I will be getting? Now this I lambda b, I lambda I by I lambda b, I can call as alpha lambda theta. So I can say that alpha L will be, sorry, alpha lambda will be equal to nothing but 2 times, and this integration if I do 2 times 0 to pi by 2 alpha lambda theta phi into cos theta sin theta d theta. Okay, so this is how I can define spectral absorptivity. Now if I have to define
alpha lambda theta, it should be alpha lambda theta inside integral.
Sorry,
Inside integral 0 to 2 integral 0 to pi by 2 alpha lambda, but it should be alpha
lambda
theta.
and then I have written lambda theta
Okay.
phi
Okay.
in the functional form. So outside lambda source, I am talking about spectral absorptivity, and inside source the functional dependence of this. Okay.
Okay.
So in the similar way, can I write the definition of alpha total?
Integrated over lambda 0 to infinity.
0 to infinity g lambda I d lambda divided by 0 to infinity, or simply, yeah, I can write 0 to infinity g lambda b into d lambda. Okay, so this alpha total I can simply write in the numerator 0 to infinity. In place of g lambda I, can I write it alpha lambda into g lambda b? Divided by g lambda. Sorry, one mistake I am doing over here. Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah. So one mistake here I am doing. This will be g lambda total, and this will be g lambda I absorbed. Okay, so absorbed will be alpha times, and here I will be having lambda total. Okay. Fine. Now, in the similar way, I can define reflectivity. Okay. So what will be the definition of reflectivity? Please tell me. It is given by a symbol rho. If I have to define rho, what will be its value? Can I write it like this? G reflected divided by G total. Can I write reflectivity like this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the definition of reflectivity. Now other definitions also you can include. Now reflectivity is having one special characteristic, that it's a bidirectional property. Okay. So why I am saying it's a bidirectional property? Can you guess?
Because of incident and reflected ray.
Yes. So on a surface there will be some incident ray and there will be some reflected ray.
Sir, can we
Now,
continue this in the next class, as we have a class from 1 p.m. also?
okay, fine. So I will just discuss briefly about reflectivity and transmittivity. It will take 2-3 more minutes and then I'll stop. Okay. You can join for the next class and see recording.
Okay, thank you.
So now it's a bidirectional property. Here I'll be having some incident and reflected ray. Now the intensity of the incident and reflected ray is something which will be actually important. So what happens? We call the surface having special types of characteristics. We call the surface to be a diffuse reflector if the light ray which is reflected from the surface has uniform intensity in all the directions, or if a ray is incident at some angle and reflected also at the same angle, then we call that surface to be nothing but a diffuse reflector. And for majority of our considerations, we will be considering that intensity of incident and reflected ray is equal and our surface is nothing but diffuse reflector, because if we have to incorporate the bidirectional property of the reflectivity, then our analysis becomes very, very complex. Okay. Similarly, we have transmittivity. So transmittivity is defined by a symbol tau. It will be equal to nothing but G transmitted divided by G total, which we are actually irradiating on a surface. Okay. Now, the transmittivity in general for a semi-transparent medium, we have seen that we can write G equal to G absorbed plus G reflected plus G transmitted. If I divide throughout by G, in the left side I will get 1. Here absorbed by G I will get alpha. Here I will get rho, and here I will get tau. So this is something which is applicable for a transparent medium. If I have an opaque medium, for an opaque medium, I will be finding that I'll be only having 1 equal to alpha plus rho, because transmission in case of opaque medium will be 0. So if I know any of the property alpha, that I will be able to relate to another property. Okay. Now these are some spectral dependence of reflectivity and absorptivity over here, and you can go through these curves and these behaviors. Like you can see over here, we are having very random behavior of the as a function of the wavelength for this reflectivity and absorptivity, and this is spectral dependence on transmittivity. Okay, now it is also to be highlight over here that absorptivity, transmittivity and reflectivity are having very less dependence on the temperature. So that's why majority of the time when we will be talking about these parameters, we will not be including temperature into consideration. And you can also see, while I have defined the formulations for emissivity, I was including functional formulation of lambda, theta and phi, while for the absorptivity, reflectivity and transmittivity, I have only used lambda, theta, phi, and I didn't take into account the effect of temperature, because it's